Did you know that the story of King Charles's love life is far more dramatic than anything you've seen on TV? Welcome to a deep dive into 12 of the most shocking, controversial, and sometimes misunderstood scandals that have surrounded the current monarch's romantic affairs. Whether you've followed these royal intrigues for decades or you're new to the story, you're about to discover just how complex and occasionally outrageous Charles's personal relationships have been. From leaked phone calls that made headlines worldwide to clandestine romances hidden behind palace walls, these scandals remind us that even the most privileged individuals can't escape the complexities of the human heart. Let's begin. Number 1. The early Camilla romance that started it all. Long before Lady Diana Spencer came into the picture, Charles had already fallen hard for Camilla Shand. In the early 1970s, their budding relationship was cut short by royal protocol and societal expectations. Camilla was deemed unsuitable as a future queen by certain palace insiders and members of the establishment. Many believe that this initial heartbreak set the stage for decades of complications. The irony is that Camilla eventually became queen consort after Charles ascended the throne, proving that royal rules can bend, even if it takes decades. Critics of the monarchy argue that this entire saga highlighted the rigidity and secrecy that often define royal matchmaking. Others, though, see Charles and Camilla's later marriage as a triumph of genuine love over outdated customs. Number 2. The royal bride hunt. After Charles and Camilla went their separate ways, at least officially, the prince began what the media called a bride hunt, dating a series of aristocratic and upper-class women under the watchful eye of royal advisors. Names like Lady Jane Wellesley and Davina Sheffield popped up in the tabloids, with speculation constantly swirling about who would become the one. The pressure to find a virginal bride suitable for the future king was intense, and it led to numerous gossip-fueled romances. This search underscored the glaring gap between real human relationships and the rigid expectations of monarchy, sparking debates over whether individuals with questionable pasts, by royal standards, could ever marry into the family. In retrospect, it's a glimpse into how archaic rules once governed the personal lives of royals in ways that feel extreme today. Number 3. The rocky courtship with Diana. By the time Charles met Lady Diana Spencer, the media frenzy was out of control. Diana was just 19 years old, shy, and from an aristocratic background. Seemingly perfect on paper, she checked every box for palace officials, who were reportedly eager to see Charles settle down. Yet behind the fairy tale engagement photos lay significant tension. Charles was still carrying a torch for Camilla, while Diana was thrust into the global spotlight without much preparation. Their awkward pre-wedding interviews, where Charles famously responded to a question about love with whatever in love means, made headlines. Critics of the monarchy later pointed to this courtship as a cautionary tale about forcing two people into a high-stakes marriage for the sake of royal image. Number 4. The telephone call fiasco, commonly known as Tampon Gate. In the early 1990s, an intimate phone conversation between Charles and Camilla was illegally recorded and leaked to the press. The transcript, labeled by tabloids as Tampon Gate, was peppered with explicit affection, shocking the public. This scandal erupted while Charles was still married to Diana, fueling sympathy for the increasingly isolated princess and inciting anger toward Charles and Camilla. Many historians argue that Tampon Gate was a turning point in the public's perception of Charles, transforming him from a somewhat staid figure to a polarizing character whose personal failings were now front-page material. Supporters of Charles, however, condemned the invasion of privacy, likening the scandal to a smear campaign that exploited a private moment to sell newspapers. Number 5. Diana's explosive TV interviews. As Charles and Diana's marriage unraveled, Diana took to the media to tell her side of the story. Her infamous 1995 Panorama interview with Martin Bashir included the now iconic line, There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. That third person was clearly Camilla. Charles, meanwhile, had already admitted to adultery in a separate interview. These confessions rocked the monarchy, an institution that had traditionally kept its marital troubles behind closed doors. The public sympathy that poured in for Diana further vilified Charles's role in the failed union. It's worth noting that some questioned the ethics of the interviews themselves, especially given later revelations about how Bashir secured Diana's participation. Still, the immediate effect was to cast Charles as an unfaithful husband in the court of public opinion. Number 6. The Camilla coming out strategy. Post-divorce, Charles embarked on what many observers saw as a carefully choreographed plan to rehabilitate Camilla's public image. Palace advisors orchestrated a slow rollout, from subtle appearances at events to official statements acknowledging her role in Charles's life. The first major turning point came when Camilla was introduced to Prince William, signifying acceptance at a family level. Yet this public relations approach sparked heated debates. Royal watchers were split. Some appreciated the attempt at transparency, while others felt the monarchy was brushing off Diana's legacy too quickly. Nonetheless, over time, Camilla's acceptance grew, culminating in their civil marriage in 2005. This carefully managed reintroduction highlighted how the crown can deploy media strategy to shape perceptions, even if it takes years. Number 7. Rumored relationships on the side. While the Camilla and Diana dramas are well documented, Charles was also linked, sometimes unfairly, to other women. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, tabloids hinted at flings or emotional entanglements with various aristocrats. Some of these rumors were never substantiated, but they fueled a narrative of a prince who couldn't quite settle down. One particularly persistent rumor involved an Australian heiress, which tabloids seized upon to paint Charles as a playboy prince. In a bid for balance, some royal insiders argue that a single man in his 20s is allowed to date, but critics say the monarchy's hush-hush culture only encouraged more speculation. Whether or not these rumors were true, they fed the public's curiosity about Charles' private affairs. Number 8. The overshadowing of official duties. One often overlooked aspect is how Charles's love life overshadowed his long-standing charitable work. From the prince's trust to his passion for environmental issues, Charles had built a reputation as a forward-thinking royal. But each new scandal, be it a leaked phone call or a rumor about his marriage, consumed headlines, detracting from his philanthropic efforts. Supporters argue that this imbalance was unfair, as it reduced Charles to tabloid fodder when he was genuinely trying to make a positive impact. Critics, however, maintain that the future king should have ensured his personal life didn't become such a liability in the first place. It's a reminder that in the modern era, the line between personal and public can blur dramatically. Number 9. The public relations battles with the press. Throughout the turbulence, Charles found himself in a perpetual tug-of-war with the British press. He famously lamented being in a cage, at the mercy of photographers and sensational headlines. The tabloids saw his complicated personal life as a goldmine. Even relatively minor events were spun into front-page scandals. While Diana garnered a more sympathetic portrayal, Charles faced harsher criticism, including caricatures that framed him as emotionally distant and hapless. With the monarchy's reputation at stake, palace PR teams attempted to control the narrative, but the press often had the final word. This tension underscored how the royal family's relationships with the media can be both symbiotic and adversarial. Number 10. The effect on Prince William and Prince Harry. The breakdown of Charles and Diana's marriage and Charles's ongoing relationship with Camilla inevitably had ripple effects on William and Harry. From dealing with paparazzi to witnessing their parents' very public feuds, the young princes were thrown into a maelstrom of media scrutiny. Over time, William seemed to grow closer to his father's side of the story, eventually supporting Charles's marriage to Camilla. Harry, however, has spoken openly about lingering pain from his mother's death and the media's role in it. The controversies around Charles's love life thus became interwoven with broader family dynamics, fueling ongoing discussions about how generational change might reshape the monarchy. Number 11. The question of queen consort versus princess consort. Even after Charles and Camilla wed in 2005, the palace announced she would be styled as princess consort upon Charles's accession, presumably to quell public resentment over Diana's memory. Yet, when Charles did become king, Camilla was confirmed as queen consort, an elevation that divided public opinion. Supporters argued that Camilla was fulfilling the traditional role of a monarch's spouse, while critics felt it was a betrayal of Diana's legacy, given the tumultuous history. This shift speaks volumes about how drastically public sentiment toward Camilla has softened, but it also underlines the monarchy's capacity to rewrite its own narratives. Number 12. The lasting Diana factor. No conversation about Charles's love life is complete without acknowledging how Diana's enduring popularity continues to cast a long shadow. Decades after her passing, public polls consistently show that Diana remains one of the most adored royals in modern history. Charles's subsequent marriage to Camilla, no matter how happy, can't fully escape comparisons to the woman known as the People's Princess. Movies, documentaries, and even the Netflix series The Crown keep these memories alive, often placing Charles in a less flattering light. This eternal comparison highlights a key royal paradox. While the monarchy thrives on tradition and heritage, it also has to grapple with stories that never quite fade. So, there you have it. 12 secret scandals that have defined King Charles' love life, shaping both his public image and the trajectory of the British royal family. From ill-fated engagements and clandestine phone calls to the enduring rift between tradition and personal happiness, his relationships are a fascinating lens through which to view the complex world of modern monarchy. Love him or hate him, Charles stands at the intersection of centuries of protocol and the relentless glare of 21st century media. It's a reminder that behind the jewels and ceremonies, royals are still human, prone to mistakes, passionate entanglements, and all the drama that comes with them. Which of these revelations did you find the most surprising? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into royal affairs, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more royal history, scandals, and behind-the-scenes stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.